Kobe has had this really fascinating career. It's not that it was better than Jordan's career or Kareem's career, because it's not yet, and it probably never will be. But in terms of the fascination of it, I don't think any NBA career has been more fascinating. You know, he was brought up in a different way, and the Bill Simmons article touches a little bit on this. You know, he was brought up in a privileged family. His father was a good NBA player. He even spent 7 years of his early life in Italy, and he was brought up to be a great basketball player. You don't see that usually with these players. You know, Jordan came from semi-poverty. Magic and Bird both kind of sort of came from that thing. But Kobe kind of had this privileged upbringing. So that's pretty rare. We don't see that often. I think Kareem came from something similar. And then he went to high school, had this amazing high school career, was a amazing athlete, and decided to go right into the NBA, which happened a few times to that point in the NBA, but it had not yet become a major trend. So he entered the NBA very young, and then he got drafted by the Charlotte Bobcats. Now, had he stayed there, or excuse me, the Charlotte Hornets, had he stayed there, things might have been a little more normal. Most of the times when an amazing player, a young superstar with amazing God-given skills, enters the NBA, they go to a bad team, learn how to lose, learn how to play on terrible teams and carry crappy teams to 30 wins and be happy for it. Most players have to do that. But fate intervened. He got sent to the Los Angeles Lakers to play with Shaq. This is another way in which his career has been different and fascinating. He got to win from day one. When that trade to LA was made, not only did he get to play in a huge market where people would come out to see him play, love him, and cheer for him, he got to immediately get traded to a team that would win. It took a couple years, you know. They would make the postseason and lose, but he had an amazing partner, and after a few years he had a good supporting cast, had a great coach, and then they won 3 titles in a row. So from the day one of Kobe's career, he had the opportunity to play in big games, in big meaningful games, try and win them or lose them, or watch somebody else win them or lose them. And it only took 4 years for them to get into the NBA Finals and win. And then they rolled off that three-peat. So Kobe won from day one. And we got to see this one side of Kobe. The side of him learning how to win, how to play in big games, and then the side of him that would win big games. You know, on a great team that could dominate everybody and win 65 plus games a year and just be this awesome dominant team. So after that, you know, the Lakers were still good for a couple years. They went to the finals again, and we got to see another side of Kobe. As the team was slowly falling apart, not on the court, but off it, but it was still a good team. We got to see another side of Kobe there, because up until that point he was kind of sort of a baby face. He was supposed to be the good guy. Those events that transpired in between, say, 2003 and 2005 kind of made him the bad guy. More importantly, in the 2004 finals, we got to see another side of Kobe. The I want to win a finals MVP so bad I'm going to murder my own team by shooting a lot side. So we got to see this greedy, self-destructive side of Kobe as he tried to shoot his team to a victory in the 2004 finals and couldn't. There were opportunities there for them to win that series, even though the Lakers got crushed in those finals. They had chances to win those games, and would have with a less greedy superstar possibly. So the team broke up. You know, the coach left. The aging superstar went to the other conference, and for 3 years, Kobe finally got to play on a terrible team. That experience that most superstars have when they're young and just entered the league, Kobe had in his prime. The fact that Kobe played on terrible teams for 3 years of his prime represents one of the greatest front office failures in sports history, in my opinion. And I don't think Kobe enjoyed it terribly too much either. I don't know if he hated it as much as Jordan would have, but I don't think he really enjoyed playing on those terrible teams. Twice first round fodder for the Phoenix Suns, once not even a postseason team. Inadvertently, this helped his legacy though. I think we will look back on the Kobe's career and think, we got to see this side of him that we usually don't get to see from superstars. He played for a terrible team in his prime. And while I do wonder how many championships he could have won if this didn't happen, you also have to think that we got to see this player in his prime, one of the top 10 greatest NBA players of all time, in his prime, get to take every shot, every big shot, shoot 40 to 45 times a game, and everyone was okay with it except for like Lamar Odom, who got really, really frustrated through the whole thing, I think. So, you know, that one season we saw him score 50 plus points 9 times. We saw him score 40 plus like 9 times in a row. We saw him score 62 points in 3 quarters. We saw him score 81 points in a game. We saw him win back-to-back scoring titles. We saw him do these amazing individual accomplishments. And even though the teams weren't good, and occasionally the teams were outright bad, we got to see this side of Kobe in his prime, at his absolute peak, getting to shoot as many times as he wanted. And while it was sad for the Lakers fans, who could have had this great team built around one of the greatest players of all time, I think seeing that side of Kobe will help his legacy in the long run. So then the Pau Gasol trade happened. Kobe almost traded himself to Chicago, but he decided to put the Knicks on that real quick, just at the very end, and then Pau Gasol was brought in, and we got to see this other side of Kobe, the man on a championship team. I mean, it took them like 20 months to win a championship, but it was a championship caliber team. They went to the finals. They won 60 plus games twice. They, you know, had all these great performances. They were a great team, went to the finals twice, lost it once, won it once. And now we've really got to see all these sides of Kobe, so we know everything about him. We don't know what Jordan would have done if he was on a terrible team in his prime. We don't know what, you know, Bill Russell would have done if he had a better player. Like, you know, if Bill Russell had Jordan on his team, how would that have worked? We don't know a lot of these things, but we've got to see so many sides of Kobe. So we know as much as we could about him, and his career really has been fascinating. You know, he got to the top, and then he went down, kind of like Tony Montana at the end of Scarface, but somehow he got back up to the top, and that's where he is now. And they have the title this year. You know, he won the MVP award last year. He's a 3-time All-Star MVP. Finally has that Finals MVP. And now he walks among the NBA gods. When he goes into the Hall of Fame one day, if they do switch to the 5-tier system that I just talked about, Kobe goes at the top. Before this Finals, he was at the 2nd tier. Now he's top tier. There are players, I mean, to me, there are several players out there that have had better careers than him, and there are players he can never surpass. To me, I just don't see how his career could possibly pass Jordan, Kareem, Russell, or Chamberlain. Everything else is fair game, but those 4 guys I think are untouchable. But it's been a fascinating career, and he's up there now. The minimum requirement is pretty much you have to win a championship as the best player on your team, and he's done that now. That was really what he was looking for, and now he's found it. It's been an interesting, fascinating career. I don't think we've ever seen a sports career quite this fascinating. And, you know, I'll be making that video like a nice little tribute to the top 12 greatest NBA players ever, in my opinion, so keep an eye out for that. That's really all I got to say about these finals this season and the status of the NBA as of right now. So I'm going to leave it at that. Read the article. And I'm going to see you guys later. I'll probably not be making too many videos for a while.